Most people don't fail because they lack talent or effort. They fail because their energy is divided. When your attention is spread across too many goals, nothing gets enough depth to truly grow. Progress demands commitment, and commitment begins with choosing a single direction. Not because other paths are wrong, but because focus is finite. Every yes you give to one path is a quiet no to dozens of others, and that trade-off is not a loss, it's power. Choosing one direction means deciding what actually matters in this phase of your life. Not what sounds impressive, not what gets applause, but what moves you closer to long-term freedom, peace, and competence. One skill worth mastering, one problem worth solving, one domain worth exploring deeply. When you align your energy behind a single aim, your mind stops oscillating and clarity replaces confusion. Elimination is the hidden half of success. Most people try to add better habits without removing the bad ones. They want growth without sacrifice, but real progress requires subtraction. You must eliminate distractions before you multiply results. This means stepping away from low-value commitments, shallow entertainment, and constant noise. Information overload creates the illusion of learning while quietly stealing your ability to think. Distraction is not always obvious. Sometimes it looks productive. Endless planning, consuming motivational content, starting multiple projects at once. These feel like movement, but they are often avoidance. Depth feels uncomfortable because it exposes your limits, but that discomfort is where growth lies. When you commit to one direction, you remove the escape routes. You stop switching paths at the first sign of resistance, and instead, you stay long enough to become competent. When your focus narrows, time expands. The same 24 hours suddenly feel richer because your energy is no longer fragmented. Your mind begins to work on the problem even when you're not consciously thinking about it. Connections appear naturally. Insights compound. This is how progress accelerates, not through force, but through alignment. Choosing one direction also simplifies decision making. Life becomes lighter when your choices are filtered through a single priority. You no longer ask, is this interesting? You ask, does this serve my direction? If the answer is no, you let it go without guilt. This clarity protects your time, your attention, and ultimately your peace of mind. Most breakthroughs come not from sudden inspiration, but from sustained presence. When you show up daily to the same pursuit, something subtle changes. You develop intuition. You begin to see patterns others miss. You gain specific knowledge that cannot be taught in courses or copied from others. This is the kind of knowledge that creates real value and cannot be easily replaced. Eliminating everything else does not mean living a narrow or joyless life. It means trusting that depth creates fulfillment. When you stop chasing everything, you finally experience something fully. Focus brings calm, calm brings precision, precision brings results. In the end, success is less about doing extraordinary things and more about doing ordinary things for an extraordinary length of time. Choose one direction, remove the rest, give your full attention to what matters now. Over time, what you once chose deliberately becomes who you are. Most people wait to feel motivated before they take action. They assume progress begins with emotion, but motivation is unpredictable. It rises and falls with mood, energy, and circumstance. If your growth depends on how you feel, it will always be inconsistent. Real change begins when action becomes automatic, when the structure of your day carries you forward even on days you feel tired, bored, or uninspired. A system is simply a set of behaviors you follow regardless of emotion. It removes the need for constant decision-making. When your day is designed well, discipline becomes less about willpower and more about default behavior. You don't argue with yourself about what to do next. You already know. This frees mental energy for what actually matters: thinking, creating, and improving. Daily systems work because they respect reality. Human beings are not machines. We cannot operate at peak intensity all the time, but we can show up consistently. Small, repeatable actions performed daily may seem insignificant in isolation, but they compound quietly. Over time, consistency creates identity. You stop trying to become someone new and start acting like the person you already are becoming. The first step in building a system is simplicity. Complex routines fail because they demand too much attention. A good system is boring, it is clear, it is easy to repeat. 1 or 2 hours of focused effort each day is more powerful than occasional bursts of extreme work. Depth beats intensity when measured over time. Design your environment to support your system. Willpower is weakest when friction is high. Remove obstacles that make good habits harder and add friction to behaviors you want to reduce. Place learning tools where they are visible. Limit easy access to distractions. Make progress easier than procrastination. When the environment is aligned, behavior follows naturally. Another key is separating creation from consumption. Most people begin their day reacting to messages, news, and social media. This trains the mind to be passive. A strong daily system prioritizes creation first. Even a small act of creation, writing, building, practicing, signals to your mind that you are a producer, not just a consumer. This shift compounds confidence over time. Tracking matters, but not obsessively. The goal of a system is not perfection. It is continuity. Miss a day without guilt and return the next. Momentum is preserved not by never failing, but by failing without quitting. Systems are forgiving by design. They assume imperfection and continue anyway. As days turn into weeks, something subtle happens. The resistance fades. What once felt difficult becomes normal. You stop relying on motivation because the behavior no longer feels like effort. This is when progress accelerates. Consistency builds trust with yourself, and that trust becomes confidence. Confidence then feeds back into the system, making it even easier to continue. Eventually, your system begins to shape your life without conscious effort. Your skills improve, your output increases, your self-image shifts. You are no longer someone trying to change. You are someone who operates differently. This is the quiet power of systems. They don't demand inspiration. They create results. Motivation is a spark. Systems are a fire that keeps burning. Build your days carefully. Repeat them patiently. Over time, the life you want emerges not from sudden breakthroughs, but from daily actions done so consistently that success becomes inevitable. Most people are taught that success comes from working harder, more hours, more effort, more exhaustion, but effort alone has a ceiling. No matter how disciplined you are, there are only so many hours in a day. Leverage is what allows your actions to outlive your presence. It is the difference between running on a treadmill and building a moving walkway that carries you forward even when you stop pushing. Leverage begins with understanding that not all work is equal. Some actions produce linear results, while others compound over time. When you use leverage, each unit of effort multiplies itself. Time becomes an ally instead of an enemy. Skills deepen. Assets grow. Momentum replaces struggle. One of the most powerful forms of leverage is skill, but not just any skills, specific skills that get more valuable the longer you practice them. Skills that feel like play to you, but look like work to others. Skills that combine creativity with judgment. Writing, coding, designing, teaching, building systems, and communicating ideas are examples of skills that can scale without requiring your constant presence. When you invest in such skills, you are building something no one can easily take away. Another form of leverage is creation. When you create something once that can be reused, shared, or distributed, you detach income and impact from time. Content, software, frameworks, and ideas can reach thousands or millions while you sleep. This is not about chasing attention, but about expressing value in a form that travels further than you can. Creation turns effort into an asset. Time itself is leverage, but only if you let it work uninterrupted. Most people reset their progress by constantly changing direction. Compounding requires patience. Small improvements repeated daily don't look impressive in the beginning, but over months they become unstoppable. The key is to stay in the game long enough for the curve to bend upward. Quitting early destroys the very advantage time offers. Leverage also comes from choosing the right problems. A difficult problem that matters is often more valuable than an easy one that doesn't. When you solve meaningful problems at scale, the rewards grow disproportionately. This is why judgment is more important than raw intelligence. Choosing what to work on matters more than how hard you work on it. Technology amplifies leverage, but only when paired with taste and responsibility. Tools can multiply output, but they cannot replace thinking. Use technology to remove repetition, automate the predictable, and free yourself for creative and strategic work. The goal is not speed, but clarity and reach. Letting skills and time work for you requires a shift in mindset. You stop asking, "How much can I do today?" and start asking, "What can I build that will keep working tomorrow?" You prioritize long-term value over short-term rewards. You trade immediate gratification for durable progress. Over time, leverage changes your relationship with work. You move from constant effort to intentional creation, from urgency to patience, from chasing opportunities to attracting them. This is not luck. It is the natural outcome of aligned effort applied consistently in the right direction. When you combine time, skill, and leverage, success becomes less about force and more about positioning. You place yourself where growth is inevitable. You allow the future to reward the past. And slowly, quietly, the work you once did begins to work for you.